Hey everybody, welcome to Kindred Presents. It has been our pleasure and honor today to have two people here that we have been waiting to talk to.
Absolutely.
We're so excited to have them on the show. You know them as the couple and the host of Open Relationship, and we are so excited to have them here, Monique and Sidney.
Hey everybody.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
How are you, sister and brother?
You know, it has been a crazy couple months for y'all. And I know y'all have talked to any and everybody, and it has just been wild. Are there any regrets?
Some years since we met in the 10th grade, so we can't put it all on off to the last couple months.
Well, you guys have handled it with an amazing amount of grace and patience, I have to tell you. Being in a situation where people have so many different opinions and coming at you guys from left, right, up, and down, you've been very graceful and very kind to people even when they were very messy towards you. So I want to at least applaud you guys for that. Absolutely. You all were stellar with that.
I'm going to tell you, a lot of people have questioned why I have my husband by my side and as my manager. And the reason why it's been not so difficult is because I've had my husband and mama. They just don't get it. So therefore, we have to be patient and we have to love them through it. Because y'all know me for teen. I want to say a couple extra spicy words.
That's right. Why do you think that it is that people give managers or husbands such a hard time when they are involved in the management of said artist?
You want to take that with that, or you want me to take it?
Take it.
I think for us, when they give a hard time, because it's not oftentimes seen. And I don't know how many times you've actually seen a black man and a black woman, and they say, we're going to manage our own career. We're going to manage ourselves. We're going to do this our way. Oftentimes, that's not something that's seen. So when it came to Sidney and I remember asking Sidney years ago, I said, I'm going to need you to manage me. And he said, Mama, that's not what I do. And I said, I know. And then after seeing, I'll say, deals and being a part of meetings, we both knew it was time for us to manage our life and our career.
Do you think that having your husband as a part of your management team, because he has such a special stake in your life, for us, we have to tell people all the time, like, we're a family. We're not just a group. We're a family. So when you're dealing with him or I, you're dealing with a family. So do you think that it's important within business to have someone a part of it that has a specific stake in the future of your life?
Well, and I'm glad you asked that question, Aja, because for two sisters to talk, and we have our husband sitting next to us, who happens to be our life partners, our business partners, our everything to them and our everything to us. So from sister to sister, it's an honor for me to have my husband sitting by my side and I sitting by his side, and we're doing this together. Because at the end of the day, when all the cameras stop, when all the fans go away, when it's all said and done, who's going to be there?
And he has been there for a long time. You guys are not a fly by night. Y'all ain't just been doing this. Y'all ain't fresh off the boat.
How long you guys been married now?
13 years.
Going on.
It's going on 13 years.
And you've known each other for
since we were 14. Now we're going to be 51 this year.
51. Wow. You guys are looking really, really incredible too.
Did you say 51? Like, wow. That's old.
Because you guys look incredible to be 51 years old. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Now, we have to touch on a little bit on the controversy, of course, the Netflix thing. I know it's run rampant for the past couple of weeks, as they just started out with, and ask, for the most part, in a perfect world, had you put that information out there and everybody really stood behind it immediately and got on board and, decided to boycott Netflix and what have you, what would have been the strategy after that?
When you say in a perfect world, which we know we're not in that.
Of course.
But if we would have all gotten on board, we may have been able to see this thing called equality. Because when we don't get on board, when you speak about Netflix, there's a sister right now named Shonda Rhimes who has a petition going around because she was paid $100 million, and that's a beautiful number. But then her counterpart, which is a white male, was paid $300 million. And Shonda Rhimes' resume far exceeds this person's resume. So had we all gotten on board, what we all may have been dealing with today is a word called equality.
And in addition to that, the whether the boycott, because it's still in motion. This is not a sprint; it's a marathon. Ideally, life is still going to go on. You're still going to You're going to see her doing comedy. We're still going to film our own piece. What happens is we were just calling out to the world so they would be aware. For if we had not, then there would not have been an individual that came out named Kim Clayton Hirschman, who worked in business relations for ABC, who spoke about the inner workings and the dynamics of what happens behind the scenes and how we revealed that Isaiah Washington was mistreated once we revealed a letter that was sent internally that fell into our hands. So it's a progression in which kind of like you don't know what the end result is going to be, but what we're letting people know is what the expectation is at this present time. And when you have individuals, the last name was Cherry, who I believe was part of Stranger Things that happens on Netflix, that says, had Monique not spoken out, he believed that cast that Stranger Things, going into their third year, they were being paid $25,000 a year. It was a smash hit, one of the biggest hits on an episode. And now they're going to get $250,000 an episode. Well, when you hear Kim Clayton Hirschman speaking in reference to how things normally transpire, you start finding out that by the time they get to $250,000, remember a show called Friends? Right. They were getting $1 million an episode in their second year. So it's one of those things where the rules are a little bit different for African Americans and people of color and women in the game. And we just wanted to bring a level of attention to that.
Are you finding that, have you gotten any phone calls or any communications from people who were publicly, what's the word I'm looking for? Critical of what you did, and then called you and said, hey, look, you know what? My bad.
I was wrong.
Oh, that's a good one, Aja.
You see me?
Well, we've done some interviews with some of our brothers and sisters who privately, when they spoke with me or they spoke with Sidney and I together, they said, you're right. And we know you're not lying. But couldn't you have done it another way? And then when we say, well, what's the suggestion of another way? And then they say, well, we don't know. So we've gotten a couple of those phone calls from our brothers and sisters, but we notice that when they go public, it's not the same conversation.
But that oftentimes it's easy to focus on the negatives. As they say, it takes 7 to 9 positive thoughts to take out one negative thought. And there also have been patients that have apologized on behalf of the community. There have been individuals who have also said, listen, I didn't get it when you were saying it first. A multitude of individuals that said, we didn't get it when we first heard it, but now that we heard you explain it, we never thought about it that way. So what happens is the knee-jerk reaction when someone doesn't agree with you is to think that it's from a place and space of being malicious, hateful, you just a hater. But the reality is, when have we as a community been taught to believe in ourselves? We hear it every now and again, but it goes back to, and even further, but I remember as a child hearing my father say, I'm not going to let a black man do my dental work. It's going to always have to be a Jew. Remember Red Fox when he played Sanford and Son? He would say the same thing. So we were taught to have more belief in white men than we were to have in ourselves. So when you see a couple and a black man that is representing his wife, in the minds of our own people, there's no way he can articulate himself well enough in a boardroom to extrapolate or to extract the information from the individuals on the other
Because
side
we
to
don't
make
say
his
those same
point.
things about the Kardashians' mama. I mean,
Right. Well,
what
they are of a
experience did she
different
have?
view.
You know,
Right. Well, here's where it gets good. The president of the United States, what experience did he have in politics? But they use that as an attribute as to why he wouldn't be the normal politician.
right.
And for us, my experience came from sales. And in any argument, if you will, not argument from a fist fight standpoint, but from a clinical standpoint, the key is not what you state, it's what you ask, because people are more inclined to believe what it is that they say. And if you pose the right question, you'll be surprised at what people will say. And when you ask people questions who are not normally asked questions and they can't answer the very question that you asked, that within itself is difficult. And we become difficult at that point. And because you don't have to elaborate about the specifics of what makes us difficult, people then run away with their own perception of what would possibly make me difficult as a human being and as a manager.
Wow. It's pretty ironic. Last night, honestly, we went up to New York to see a new film that Tyler Perry and Taraji Henson had premiered called Acrimony. And in the film, it was crazy that it was this thing where this gentleman who was in the film was trying to get this patent or something with a company, and that he held out because they offered him $800,000, and he didn't want to. He didn't want to do it, and he held out. And at the end of the movie, he ends up getting $75 million. And I thought that was very interesting, and I felt like it really spoke to the situation, of course, that you're bringing to light right now. And it was just ironic, of course, that Tyler Perry, who, of course, you've had bumped heads with in the past, will put that into his film. Did you think that? I mean, I don't know if you had seen it or not or knew about that, but I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were.
We haven't seen the film yet, but we know Taraji that knocked it out the box once again.
She did.
She did.
The truth always comes to the surface.
And it's not really ironic. It's something that's a norm. As it pertains to us, we've been taught whatever they offer you, you should take it. And as Kimberly Clayton Hirschman said, that she was told by the superiors and the individuals in the office to, I guess, allow them to make the offers that they made despite them being low. She was constantly being hit with, well, who else is going to pay them this type of money? So when you are under the mindset that even though it's less is more than they would get in any other set of circumstances.
I want to go on record and say, when it first came out, I'll be perfectly honest and say I was astounded a little bit because I was feeling like, hey, Netflix is such a huge part of the culture right now. And, the movies are having such a hard time in the box office, and a lot of films are going straight to Netflix and what have you. And we've been seeing this as a consistent pattern. And so I was just wondering, was this going to disrupt a lot of stuff that might have been in the pipeline for lots of artists, which whom have come with films since you brought awareness to this? Regina King had a new thing that just came out not too long ago, and then of course Roxanne Shantae just had a new movie, and these are things that of course that our community wants to check out, and if they can't go and check them out in the theaters, you know what I mean, they only really have that other alternative. So that was my personal concern. I stand with you because we as a group who've over 15 years, we've experienced the pay disparity. Of course, my wife as a female and us as just a group who I guess flies a little bit under the radar in senses of the word. So we definitely identified with the scenario and we're feeling like, hey, we stand with you, but we didn't stop watching Netflix. You know what I mean? As I know a lot of people didn't stop watching Netflix. What would you say to those of us who may stand with you in a sense and agree with you, but did not find it in our hearts yet to turn off the television in that way?
No, that's a great great statement, what you're saying. And I want to share a story. I remember years ago when BET was doing Comic View. This was years ago. I mean, over what, 25 years ago? Years ago. And Hope Flood had a petition going around saying, let's not do it because they're not flying us in, they're not putting us up, and they're not paying us. They're making us feel like they're doing us a favor, and that's just not fair. And I said, Hope, you're making a mistake. There's nowhere else for us to go. So we got to get an opportunity to do something. And she said, Monique, if we keep feeling that way, they'll never have to pay us. They'll never have to put us up. They'll never have to treat us fairly. And that was over 25 years ago. So now when we sit here today and my brother says to me, you know, Monique, we didn't stop watching Netflix. That's why they're able to offer Shonda Rhimes $100 million and her white male counterpart $300 million. So when we start seeing the big gap in those numbers, and I understand because I love Regina King, baby. I love Roxanne Shante. I love all of our brothers and sisters that is able to tell their stories and get it out there. However, we still want our brothers and sisters to be paid with equality. And as long as we feel like, just like you said, Mo, I gotta be honest. I stand with you, sis, but I couldn't stop watching it. And that's why Netflix is saying we don't have to say nothing against inequality. Her own community is saying it. We know it's unfair. We know it's not right, but we still gonna watch it. Well, then what I would say to my brothers and sisters, what do you say to your babies? As the two of you sit there as Kindred the Family Soul, who I think is one of the baddest ones in the game. And when you already say, we get mistreated, my wife because she's a black woman, we because we're a black couple, and you already know the mistreatment, but then you'll say, I won't stop watching Netflix. That's the conflict that we have inside of our community. You're receiving the mistreatment, but you're saying, I won't stop supporting the very thing that's mistreating us.
And it'd be the equivalent of saying, I stand with you as it pertains to the boycott of in Montgomery, Alabama, but I'm still gonna catch that bus because you know that's a little too far for me to walk.
Well,
you know, I gotta get to work.
That's what happened.
That happened quite a bit,
That's
actually. In
Right.
fact, it took
And
them
what-
that
and-
full year really to get people completely off of it.
Right.
But
And
you know,
that's our point.
mhm.
I was gonna say that's part of it in that we didn't expect for this to be some sort of microwave process where everyone would get it. Sometimes you have to continue to have the conversation to awaken individuals, as was had with Martin Luther King. But even to one other point, they were speaking in reference to the lady who preceded Rosa Parks, and because she didn't fit the mold by being pregnant and unwed, they had to they utilized Rosa Parks. Well, the thing about it is, in my humble opinion, the situation of the bias, racial bias, was an imperfect situation imposed on people of color. So why do we find it so necessary to have to present a perfect picture for an imperfect proposition imposed on us, as is the same situation pertaining to Monique with Netflix? It's an imperfect situation being imposed upon the community, from Wanda to, countless other people who are now starting to speak up in that regard. And you start realizing that it's no perfect way to address an imperfect situation, but we should be focused on the fact is what they are saying true? Are people being treated improperly over there? Because are you going to focus on the fact that there was a burglar that came into your home, you shot him, but everybody thought you should have called the police, as opposed to saying, well, he would have never gotten shot had it not climbed through the window.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, the of course, like you said, we can completely identify. I mean, we do music, so streaming service still tons of money from us every single every single day, and people still get iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify.
And don't buy the CD.
You know, they don't buy the CDs no more. So we get that. So we completely get it. But I would also ask, you know, and this will be the, you know, we have so much more to ask you, so we won't spend the whole interview on this particular issue because you all are both amazing people, and we know you have a bigger life outside of this particular issue. But the pay disparity. A lot of people could not identify with what you were talking about because so much of their lives is not dealing in millions of dollars.
Or hundreds of thousands.
Or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Will we be able to see your voice expand outside of your particular industry? Right now, we know that in terms of African American women, that on the pay scale, that right now there's a big talk about women's payment, but African American women fall at the very bottom rung of you know, the pay inequities all over the country. That now the average African American family with 2 college graduates actually makes less than the average white family with 2 high school graduates. So the pay disparity in our country is very wide, and it's causing an economic situation where they're pretty much saying that our kids will not have even half the chances that we had. So will we be able to see you all extend this message outside of the entertainment industry and really get into pay disparities across the board?
Well, we have. We've been speaking about inequality, period. It's just that this just happens to be my field. But there's inequality in the hospitals. There's inequality in the tech world. There's inequality in the school system. There's inequality across the board because we all know as Black women, we've always been at the bottom of the totem pole. So for me, maybe I should have said for all inequality. At that moment, I was speaking about the inequality that happens in the entertainment business. But now, like you said, you have women coming out speaking across the board. They're speaking across the board. So inequality is inequality. And we don't want people for a second to think, oh, this is just about Monique and, you know, just fight for No, we're saying we need to fight for us.
And ironically, on our podcast, when we were speaking to Ms. Hirschman, the individual comments were, that happens to me on my job. So what happens is people are starting to understand that it's not about the dollar amount, because you could be talking about $20 that you're supposed to get an hour, but you only are getting $15 an hour, while your white counterpart who you trained is now getting $5 more than you. Right. The experience is the same. It's not about the dollar amount. It's about the experience of there's a level of bias because of the treatment that we're experiencing. And we ask people, just point to the time in history where people of color were paid fairly, starting from slavery. Then go.
Wow.
And you won't find it.
And you won't find it.
Of course, we find ourselves talking to you today because of your amazing career. And every amazing career has a story. Tell us a little bit about some of the kind of ground rules that you learned in the very beginning of your comedy career, things and jewels that you might let a young woman know. She has to know this to survive as a Black woman in this business.
I remember, you are so sweet. I remember the very first concert I went to. And it was a woman named Patti LaBelle. And I was 17 years old, and I went to that concert with a man named Turner. Now, Turner was about 64, and he might not be with us no more, but okay.
His name is Turner.
Okay. Turner, right?
Turner. That was his first name.
Listen, baby, okay, you knew back then them players just gave you one, Turner. So he takes me to this Patti LaBelle concert, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching this woman on stage give her heart. And in the middle of a show, she stopped the show because her grandmother had just passed. And she said, I need a hug right now because I'm hurting. And this older woman from the audience, she said, could you please just come up here and hold me? And that woman came up on that stage and held on to Patti LaBelle like that was her child. And I watched this woman cry in that woman's arms. And then she said, may I give you a gift? And that old woman was like, baby, whatever you want to do. And they brought a full-length blue mink coat out on that stage. And then I watched her perform the rest of that show. And at the end of that show, I watched this woman hug every person that was in that line. And I'm talking about the line went out the theater, wrapped around, but she hugged every person like they were the first one in that line. And I actually sat in my seat because I wasn't going to get in that line way back there, and Turner was too old. So I sat there and waited till the line went down. Okay? When I hugged that woman, y'all, she hugged me like I was hers. She hugged me not like a fan. She hugged me like a family member. She hugged me and she gave me a hug of such appreciation. So what I would say to the sister coming up, because I promised myself and I promised the universe that night, if I was ever given that chance, I would hug people just like that. So when people say, Monique, you give the best hugs, I have to say, thank you, Patti LaBelle, because I paid attention. So what I would say to the sisters coming behind us, love the people in front of you for real, because they allow us the lives that we have. They allow our livelihoods to be what they are, and do it unapologetically and do it genuinely. Because when you're not genuine, and you got people that's been in this business for a long time, but they didn't have genuine souls. So they wind up paying the price in the end of their road. They have books out about people's lives like that. So I would just say, love genuinely and don't waver from what you know is right. That was a lot, right?
Hey, that's how you do it.
Okay, baby.
Beautiful.
Okay.
That was not a lot. That was beautiful.
Every time that we have personally been in your presence, I feel that what you just described is how you have treated us. And I remember back, I think Aja referenced it earlier, when we went to the Charlie Mack weekend thing that he had, and we went over to the jail, and you were speaking to those kids and the tough love that you were speaking to them like they were your child. Each one of those individuals in that room, no matter what they had done or what have you, I mean, and of course I wasn't in trouble, but you could feel like your mama is talking to you right now.
We all straightened up and fly right after that.
We wanted to straighten up and fly right. So I commend you for carrying that spirit in your life and in your career, and showing that love to the people who you come in contact with. That really shows. And I would assume, like you said, from that example was really great.
That day you were really transparent about your life and about your relationship with your oldest child. How has that experience transformed you or evolved you as a mother? You have twin boys who are close to the same age
12,
as one of my
13
daughters.
The twins are 12. Mike was 14.
So, yes, and Mike was 14. How has that experience evolved you as a mother?
It's made me a better mother. And I still have some growing to do, but it's made me a better mother, because if I can remember that day talking to those babies, I was fighting to have a relationship with my baby and felt like I was losing him. So the conversation I was able to have with those babies, I was unable to have and connect it with my son. So all of those babies were my son. And, y'all, when I first got in this business and my son was a little boy, it was just about being famous for me. It wasn't about being a wife. It wasn't about being a mother. It was about being famous. And though I had this son, my priority was not my son. And that's as real as I can be with it. He was not my priority, because the priority was, I got to make this money. And we ain't never got to worry about nothing. And he can go to any college he want to go to. But what I wasn't doing was reading bedtime stories. What I wasn't doing was making the PTAs. What I wasn't doing was going on field trip. So when I lost that relationship, and I always say it's never too late, because as long as me and him both alive, it's never too late. But when I lost that relationship and I had to take some of the responsibility, I prayed to the universe and I said, if you give me another chance, if you give me another chance at motherhood, I'll I'll do my best and I'll know what my priorities are. And even when I was given another chance, it was watching my husband nurture his family that allowed me to become a better nurturer as a wife, as a mother, as a friend. So when I see the two of you sitting together as husband and wife, it makes my heart go, that's right. Because oftentimes, Aja, they make us feel like it's something wrong having our husband sitting by our side. But my husband is raising me. And I say that because it's real. My husband has given me things that my father, my biological father, never did. I didn't know if he didn't know to give it to me. I didn't know if he didn't consider it. But my husband, who's been my best friend since the 10th grade, is raising me and helping me be better just in my daily life walk.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. And the funny thing is, I heard you say that before, and at first I didn't understand it. Today, I'm toning in so much more on what you meant by that. Sidney, your wife has talked very transparent about what she has learned and grown from knowing you. I'm just going to throw the same question back to you. How has she enriched your life? I mean, beyond what we can clearly see right here.
By always being a go-getter, by always being straightforward, by always remembering everything that she said from the beginning, which is to appreciate the people that helped her get here, and I was essentially nurtured by my grandmother, who had a Sagittarian spirit named Minnie Hicks. And I married a woman whose initials are now MH, like Minnie Hicks, who is a Sagittarian spirit. And she was the individual in the neighborhood where I can't remember how many times people said, I wish I had a grandmother like yours. That's what people say about her with regards to her sincerity. They ask, is she really that nice to other people? And what I appreciate most about her is she's not afraid. See, she won't go after, if you will. Recently, I believe Tiffany Haddish said something that could potentially be construed as out of sorts, pertaining to myself or the young lady from The Real,
Adrian, I think.
Adrian, and said, just because you're loud doesn't mean that you're right. What I appreciate about her is, as opposed to focusing in on them because they know not what it is that they say, because they haven't had the tenure in this business to fully understand, she stays on stride with saying to individuals like Oprah, like Tyler, like Lee, we're not trying to call them out, we're trying to call them up. Because when individuals like Oprah, who have been put somewhat on a pedestal, that they sometimes are not only misleading individuals inadvertently, but they are misled because people begin not to see that. As an example, she was on the Van Jones show the other day, and she was asked, what do you do when you wake up first thing in the morning? And she says, thank you before she opens her eyes. She says, thank you when she opens her eyes. She meditates, and then she takes out the dogs.
No, Daddy. She take out the dogs first.
No, baby.
And then she meditate.
Okay. So whatever the order was, what I noticed that was apparently missing was that there was no talk about love in the man that she's been with since I believe the Bible was written. She has been with Stedman, right?
2 pages before.
2 pages before. So what happens is when you have individuals that speak in reference to themselves being the light, one thing we have to realize about the light is used in cloaking things that people do not want you to see. Does that make her a bad person? Absolutely not, because we love her as a human being. But what happens is where we become difficult is because we say you can respect a homeless person in the same manner that you respect a queen, because that is the way in which we would want to be treated. It is when you over respect someone that you not only begin to do yourself a disservice, but you're doing them a disservice. So for me, what she does is reconfirms these things. And I didn't think I would ever get a Minnie Hicks, but I married a Minnie Hicks.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Tyler and Oprah. Do you think there is anything out there that could possibly make fences be mended between you guys and these entities that you've had these bumps in the road with?
Of course.
The truth.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Just for them to tell the truth. Again, I don't hate my sister. I can't, because she's my sister. I don't hate Mr. Daniels. I can't, because that's my brother. I don't hate Tyler Perry. I can't, because that's my brother. And when he put on Medea clothes, that's my sister. So I can't hate our folks. We can't hate our folks. So when people say, because we've been asked before, what can happen? All we're saying is, guys, tell the truth. As Tyler Perry said when we had a conversation with him, he said, I will come out and I will tell the people the truth when my next film comes out.
Which was Boo of last year.
And I will tell those people you did nothing wrong and you were right, because all we were saying is, listen, brother, just give me my name, clear my name, because my reputation is everything. And y'all sat back and y'all watched me get thrown under the bus and y'all said absolutely nothing. And then y'all actually spreaded that foolishness.
Well, not y'all, but we'll say definitively, based upon the conversation we had with Tyler, because we have to be specific. He had addressed David Talbert in a way that he explained the incredible experience that David said he had with Monique wasn't the experience that he had with Monique. And what we asked him was, well, tell us about the displeasurable experience that you had with Monique and or I, because, when you're called swindlers by Will Packer, because you have the unmitigated gall to say to a Lionsgate and to a Tyler Perry, listen, could Monique come to Lionsgate and ask them for money when she has no contractual obligation or agreement or paperwork or whatever you want to call it? Could she do that?
No.
And the answer was no. So how could they do that to her and call her difficult for not doing what it is that they asked, which was based upon, as it was told to me, how incredibly she promoted the film domestically, which was the only obligation she had in the first place with Lee Daniels Entertainment. She never had any deal, any obligation to Lionsgate. Because to do so against your will.
People who don't understand the business, when you go out to promote these movies, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy, time away from your home, your children, and just to tie a few things in for people who are watching this. You said earlier in our conversation how important it was for you to consistently not only reestablish relationships with your family, but to establish a strong foundation within your family. And this comes around a time where your family, where this second half of your family is very young. So I just want everyone to kind of tie those things together and think about that. You're not contractually obligated, and they want you to put in all this time when on the personal side, you are trying to pull your family and life into a space which you are more comfortable with. Sis, whew.
We with you.
And go ahead, the team. I'm sorry, baby.
No, I just said we with you.
Yeah.
I think too, Aja, it's like, I remember doing The View, and our sister Whoopi said, I wish you would have called me before you did that, because I would have schooled you. Now, Whoopi and I had a conversation privately, and she said the same thing to me. Like, she wasn't saying nothing crazy or nothing. But as I said to her that night on the phone, I said, Whoopi, and when you would have schooled me, I would have said to you, sister, when do we stop working for free? And what they're asking me to do is leave my family, go across the water, with no financial gain, no financial benefit, with the hopes and to keep my fingers crossed that they might like me to do something else. I said, sister, at what point do we take a stand and say we can't do that?
And humbly, what did she tell you when you went on your, when you were nominated for the Oscar?
Well, we talked when I was nominated for the Oscar, and she called me up and she said, Monique, you let those people know that you appreciate the accolades that they're giving you. And when you say those people, I don't know who those people were. But as I said to her, and as I said to a few others, y'all, what I don't do is a dog and pony show. That's not what I'm going to do. So everybody's calling about this Academy Award and what you need to do and what you need to say and how you need to be. Listen, I didn't sign up to win a trophy. We signed up to save people's lives. That was me and Lee Daniels' conversation was, bitch, because I called him up after I got to page 10 and I said, what is this? He said, bitch, we're going to win all kinds of awards for this. And I said, Lee, that's not why I'm doing this. I said, if we do this right, we'll be able to save some lives. So it was never about an award for me. It was never about a trophy for me. So when it came down to doing all of this international promotions, well, what people also should understand, we had a late night talk show at the time called The Monique Show.
Absolutely.
I was also on a, 25 city comedy tour doing Spread the Love. So I was like, guys, I can't spread myself that thin. I've got to take some time for my family. And if y'all really want me to do this, as Sidney asked them, is there a financial proposal to this? Oh, well, we don't do that. Well, we don't either. So we both mutually agreed, you don't pay for somebody to do a service and we don't work for free. Everybody have a wonderful day. Yeah. But then for the last 8 years, we've had to sit in, she's difficult. She's demanding. And that husband of hers, and I'm sorry, Daddy.
No, I was just going to say, they have the unmitigated gall to want to be treated with a level of dignity. They want to be treated with integrity. And if we were slaves, they would refer to us as uppity Negroes. So,
would they say Negroes?
Well, no, but I didn't know what was going on with the show.
We can say niggas.
Okay, but there it is. So at the end of the day, it's like we run into individuals who are used to us as people of color taking deals that we walk away from. So that begins to make us look like, what are you doing? This person took it. As I was told on regarding Monique, well, Halle Berry, she even cooked breakfast for the Academy. I said, well, that was Halle Berry's right, but I can assure you Monique won't fry an egg. She won't cook a slice of bacon.
Or no scrapple.
There would no Fruit Loops be poured in the bowl. So
never that.
That right there can be, that takes people aback.
Yes.
Right. Let me play devil's advocate here and ask this question. If Netflix were to send an email to Sid or to you or to the Hicks Media right now or in the next couple of days or what have you saying, we've rethought it, we've thought about these things and, we've gotten lots of feedback. We want to offer you $15-20 million. Would you take it?
Yes.
At the end of the day, anybody can see the error in their ways. This is not personal. This is about why business seems to be handled differently when it comes to people of color, and especially as it pertains to Black women women of color who are, don't fit the normal mold. So of course we would be open. As we say on our podcast, the mind is like a parachute. It's no good unless it's open. So there would be no issue. And we're not angry at Netflix because it's a name.
Right.
What we have a problem with is the mentality of the people in position over there at Netflix. And that's what we question. And interestingly enough, from being labeled difficult to us presenting our argument as it pertains to Netflix, if you notice, nobody's coming out to say these are all the situations we had with Monique that makes her difficult. These are the countless situations we had with Sidney that makes them difficult. Because you saw what happened to Harvey Weinstein and the likes. People are coming out in droves and are talking about what their experience was. We've yet to have it. And then when you have people like John Murray and Roland Martin coming out thinking that they're saying something in reference to, well, she was offered $3 million, and we present the emails, which people are now referring to as receipts, and they find out that they were wrong. Where's the journalistic integrity to say, you know what, we misspoke and we were wrong, we apologize? As opposed to that, when the last time you've heard anything from John Murray? They've gotten ghosts. So we are essentially dealing with rumors that we're addressing and no people who are standing there addressing us.
So to skip over a little bit, and I know we are running out of time, so we're not going to hold you guys too much longer, but I just wanted to mention this while we are here together. Monique, you really have been such a big part of changing the perception of or the body confidence of plus size women. And now we've seen just kind of a revolutionary change in how plus size women view themselves, how they are perceived in the media, different artists who have come out with, unbelievable levels of popularity without feeling that pressure to fit into a box. Your performance, I always believed that your performance when you did the tribute to Beyonce, I think that was a turning point. Like, I literally think that was a turning point and a moment for all fluffy brown girls in the world. Were like, oh my God, I see myself. Like, I see myself being incredible, being bodacious, being sexy, being on stage as the center of attention, and being all beautiful. That right in front of Beyonce, who has always been kind of viewed as this apex of beauty in the entertainment industry. How do you feel about that huge change? And do you see yourself as being a huge catalyst for that?
There were sisters that came before that were these beautiful women, and they were unapologetic about it. So I think I'm a part of it. I don't see me being the catalyst for it. I'm a part of it. And as Gabourey Sidibe, of it, we're all a part of women that look like us and little girls that look like us saying, I'm okay just like me. I'm okay to look just like me because I saw this woman named Isabel Sanford on the Jeffersons, and I saw this woman named I'm getting ready to call her Florida Evans, but I know that is not.
Esther Rowe,
right? So I saw these big women that were beautiful. I saw James smack Florida on the ass on Good Times, and that man loved that big juicy woman. So we're all a part of it. We're all a part of it. It's just not, oh, well, Monique, all a part of us being okay with us.
You also were kind of famous for calling skinny women evil skinny bitches.
I did that.
And have you had a change of heart? Is that language that you still use? I mean, you really
No, ma'am.
I mean, you are, at this point, you are a huge voice for the unity of us women. So I just wanted to know, have the skinny bitches become unevil in these current years?
Let me really address it.
Clarify.
Skinny Women Are Evil was a marketing tool. Skinny Women Are Evil was that book that was going to make big women pick it up and say, damn right, yes. And it was going to make our smaller sisters pick it up and say, what is Monique talking about? But when you read the book, it was simply telling you, be comfortable in the skin you're in. It was simply saying to big women, when we go to a buffet, let's stop acting like we scared to pile our plates. We didn't get these big asses by eating one piece. It was saying, let's be comfortable with who we are. So really, Skinny Women Are Evil, it was that title that made you say, what is she talking about? What does she mean? So when I say it, I've always said it as a joke because one of my, and listen, I'm getting ready to something to somebody saying, I've got black friends.
Yeah.
What about good skinny sisters?
But one of my very best girlfriends coming up in school, she was a size 0. You know,
One of your best, that's your girl.
I'm getting ready to say, Michelle right, well, I was talking about Sharice.
Oh, yeah.
But Michelle right now, Michelle is about a size, what, 4'6", and she'll try to squeeze into that too, but I got to tell her, now, no. So, I'm getting ready to say, but she don't like me to say my baby cousin, so I won't say my baby cousin. But my baby cousin who rolls with me and Sidney, baby, till the wheels fall off. She's a smaller woman. She got a little hippie over the years, but you know, so that was a joke. That's all it was. It was a ha-ha, but it made us think. And it made people say, I don't like to be called skinny. Well, then think about it when you call us fat.
Tell us about the comedy special and you guys talking about you're going to go ahead and shoot it anyway and get it out to the people. When can we expect that to possibly take place?
Well, we're going to shoot it first.
Right.
And then after we shoot it, we're going to let y'all know when it's going to drop.
Understood.
So we would just love to be in the house. I'm just going to put my bid in.
Yes, we put the bid in.
We would love to be in the house.
Well, listen, if y'all want to be in the house at a show that's coming up, make sure y'all at the Apollo Theater May the 12th for the Mother's Day weekend show. Now, it was at the Apollo Theater last Mother's Day that got it popped off.
Yes, it was. I remember that.
Because I said some spicy things.
You did.
Yes.
And this Mother's Day, I'm saying double spice.
Awesome.
Well, we're here for double spice. We need somebody to say the double spice. And you have been saying the double spice for many years. I don't know who came and thought they wasn't getting no Lowrys from you. I don't know who these people were and what impression they were under.
We want to tell you guys much gratitude. Thank you very much for spending this time with us. Colin Kaepernick took a knee. You took a stand, and we support it. And we appreciate you very much, my sister. Thank y'all very much.
We love you.
Thank y'all. We love y'all.
We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, go get that family time. We're going to get out.
Certainly
Yes,
will.
I got to go.
All right,
Yeah,
peace.
homework.